What you just watched is not a scene from a protest rally. It's not a clip from a political thriller. That was a sitting U.S. Congresswoman, LaMonica McIver of New Jersey, locked in a physical scuffle with officers at an ICE detention facility in Newark on May 9th. The reason? She and a group of activists were trying to stop what many are calling an outrageous and targeted arrest of none other than Newark's mayor, Baraka. Yes, the mayor. Now, according to the DOJ, McIver interfered with federal officers during the arrest. And now she's facing felony assault charges, a historic first. No sitting Congresswoman has ever been charged with something like this. And if convicted, she's looking at up to 8 years in prison. Today on The Breakdown, we're digging into the Newark flashpoint and what it tells us about America under Trump 2.0. We'll unpack how a so-called sanctuary city became a battleground in the new immigration war, how community leaders are pushing back, and why this case could set a chilling precedent for protests, power, and politics in 2025. Because, make no mistake, this isn't just about one arrest. It's about who gets to resist and what it now costs to do so. We're going to break it down, but first, a big welcome to all of our new subscribers and members. I am so glad you're here. And if you're watching and haven't joined us yet, please consider this your personal invitation. Because here at Panagenius TV, we're not just building a channel. We're creating a global home for Black stories that are told with truth, with intention, and power. And if that matters to you, and I hope it does, hit subscribe, tap the bell, drop a super thanks, or consider joining our membership community where we go beyond the headlines with exclusive content, behind the scenes conversations, and a front row seat at the dialogue shaping our future. I look forward to connecting with you there. All right, let's break it down. So let's set the scene. It's May 9th, 2025. The Delaney Hall ICE detention facility, which had been closed for a while, is reopening again as a result of Trump fast-tracking immigration enforcement in places like Newark. This reopening sparks protests. Community activists, local leaders, and yes, even the mayor, Baraka, showed up to resist what they saw as a blatant attack on immigration rights and sanctuary city protections. They also claimed that the facility was not up to date on necessary permits, so they wanted to inspect it. Baraka tried to join lawmakers and went inside the gate to the facility. He was told by the federal agents to leave, which he did.
Show some respect. Show some respect. You have no respect.
Congressmen are different. Congresswomen are different. Mr. Mayor, anyone that is not a congresswoman or man, step out again. It's the last warning. You will be placed on arrest.
You let him in, you piece of He's the mayor, let him in.
Don't rush in. Don't rush in. No, please.
Clear the gate. Back up.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Shame on you people.
But then they still moved in to arrest him.
They're saying that because he was on this side, that that he should.
Where's my Congress?
Witnesses and video footage shows a chaotic scene. Baraka resisting arrest, protesters shouting, and then the unexpected. Congresswoman McIver jumps into the fray, physically trying to stop the arrest.
Where's my Congresswoman?
Don't touch us. Don't touch us. Don't touch us.
All right. Back up.
Don't touch us. This is not right. How wrong with you? You ever put your hands on me? How wrong with you? How wrong with you? You better get your officer. Miss Perez. Miss Perez, get your fucking officer.
What your hand go for her?
Don't tell me like that. Wait. Where with him? He just assaulted me. Let's just walk on this. I am filing a complaint. All right. I am filing a complaint. Listen to me. I'm filing a complaint.
My people, this is where we are in the so-called land of the free and home of the brave. Now here's where things get historic. The DOJ didn't just let this slide. They charged McIver with felony assault on federal officers, a move almost unheard of in American politics. No sitting congressperson has ever faced this kind of charge related to protest or political action. What's driving this? Is it a crackdown on dissent, a political message, or a genuine law enforcement matter? And what about Newark, a city that has long positioned itself as a sanctuary city and a beacon for immigrant rights, now thrust into the national spotlight for this high-stakes confrontation? We're going to dig into all of that. But first, why Newark? Why now? To understand the clash at Delaney Hall, you've got to understand Newark's history and what's changed since Trump returned to the White House in January 2025.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement say ICE agents targeted a work site in Newark, New Jersey. Surveillance video shows what appears to be ICE agents taking a man into custody outside Ocean Seafood Depot. The owner says agents arrived at the work site at around 11 o'clock yesterday morning, asking to see his employees' documentation. Newark's mayor is now criticizing the operation, saying that it violated the Fourth Amendment. He just spoke this morning. Let's take a listen from just moments ago.
In our city without a warrant. They went in the back of the establishment. We believe that there were 3 people who they say were undocumented that they detained, but they also detained folks that were, in fact, citizens of this country. One person showed their military veteran identification and was still questioned anyway. People were fingerprinted. Pictures of their IDs and face were taken there. When I got this information, I was appalled, upset, angry that this would happen here in this state, in this country, that this would be allowed. Since we said something about it, I convened my folks. I said, we can't just let this happen and not say anything, that we at least have to say something. And so we did. And here we are. And as a result of that, I've got a series of phone calls and emails that were not too nice.
Newark isn't just a city. It's a sanctuary. And not just in the policy sense. For decades, it's been a safe haven for immigrants from all over the world. Haitians, Ghanaians, Nigerians, Jamaicans, Trinidadians, Liberians, Senegalese. It's a city where West African markets sit next to Caribbean food joints, where patois, French, Yoruba, and Twi echo through the streets, alongside English and Spanish. Now, according to the most recent census data, nearly 1/3 of Newark residents are foreign-born, and a significant portion of those come from African and Caribbean nations. These communities aren't just surviving. They're anchoring the economy, running local businesses, working in hospitals, in transit, in schools. They're the heartbeat of the city. And they're also the most vulnerable. Many are undocumented. Many rely on TPS, temporary protected status. Many are raising U.S.-born kids while trying to navigate a broken immigration system that treats them like permanent visitors, not permanent neighbors.
As I woke up this morning, I woke up as an immigrant, right? And as I left my house this morning, actually my husband said to me, "You ain't never left this house this fast before. And you're just like speeding out of this house." And I said, "Yeah, because this is personal to me, right? It is very personal. I was born in another country. My parents are from another country. My grandmother is from another country. My uncles and aunts are another country, and they all walked, right, this journey of being an immigrant in this country. It's heartbreaking. Ironbound Community Corporation is located in the Ironbound section of Newark. And like my other colleagues here, right, we provide a lot of services to the community. And it's very important that we spread the word and have the community understand that we are there for them, whether it's around knowing your rights, whether it's around services. Communities should not be afraid to leave their home. But by any chance you have a community member that don't want to leave their home, we're going to come to their home. Yeah. We are going to come because no one, absolutely no one, should be without food, going through mental health issues. Do you understand the trauma that families go through? You heard my colleagues and elected officials talk about the journey of coming to America and why some of these folks have actually came because of the trauma they're facing within their countries. And now to be faced with more trauma?
Not only is Baraka the son of revolutionary black poet Amiri Baraka, a man who understood the power of standing up to systems, but Baraka himself has always positioned Newark as a place of refuge. And here's something most national headlines missed. His wife is Ghanaian, so his connection to Newark's African immigrant community isn't just political, it's personal, intimate, lived. He's been to Ghana. He's spoken about Pan-Africanism. He's embraced the idea that the black diaspora, whether from Harlem or Accra, is connected in struggle and destiny. Under Baraka, Newark doubled down on its sanctuary city status. They refused to cooperate with ICE detainers. They cut ties with private immigration detention centers. And Delaney Hall, it was shut down in 2023 after activists exposed abuse and poor conditions. But then came Trump 2.0. Within weeks of his inauguration, the Trump administration launched what it called the America First Enforcement Initiative. It's ICE on steroids. Federal agents were ordered to target cities that defied immigration enforcement, with Newark high on that list. And the plan wasn't just about arrests. It was about optics, making examples of the cities like Newark, showing what happens when local officials push back. So when Baraka showed up at Delaney Hall to protest its reopening, the feds were ready. His arrest wasn't just about a mayor obstructing law enforcement. It was a message, a warning shot to every other sanctuary city. But here's the twist. That message got complicated real fast when a sitting U.S. Congresswoman got involved. Now, LaMonica McIver isn't some fringe backbencher. She's a rising star. Newark born and raised, her political career is rooted in the same soil that gave us Ras Baraka. So when she stepped into the scuffle on May 9th, she wasn't just defending a mayor. She was defending a movement. And now, for the first time in U.S. history, a member of Congress could go to prison for resisting ICE. A lot of people are speaking up for Congresswoman McIver. But I want you to hear this stunning response from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, one of the boldest black lawmakers on Capitol Hill. Because she doesn't just defend McIver, she puts this entire moment into perspective in a way that just stops you in your tracks.
You know, I have my prepared remarks, and we're going to get to them at some point. But there was a lot that was said, including the fact that Delaney Hall is something that was opened up under Obama, and seemingly the mayor at the time did not have issues with Delaney Hall. I can tell you that there was a point in time in which Alcatraz was open as well, and there seemingly weren't any issues. The fact is, as the mayor of any city, I want to be clear that there is a duty, and that duty is to make sure that any and every building that is opened in that city is up to code. So just because something may have been up to code in 2008 doesn't mean that in 2025 that it was up to code, and There are those that should respect the authority of the city in which they are operating in. And somehow, during the later hours of last night, we saw that while the mayor had been unlawfully charged, those charges ended up being dropped. The mayor of the largest city in the state of New Jersey was charged with criminal trespass. Now, we have video footage, and I'm not gonna play it, but we have video footage of literally them opening the gate and then asking him to leave, and then he left. Therefore, there is no criminal trespass. But the reason that I bring it up is because this entire situation could have been avoided if people just would know their jobs and actually do their jobs. Because the entire chaos that ensued, it ensued because of the unlawful detainment and arrest of the mayor in the first place. But let me get to my actual remarks. The Republicans have called today's hearing for one purpose: to help an administration that's already rooted in lawlessness and corruption execute their dangerous assault on American democracy. So in today's hearing, you'll hear them admonish their own congressional colleagues and excuse the behavior of the out-of-control, corrupt Trump administration. They're going to try to convince you that they're here to protect law and order and the rule of law. But they won't mention how the Trump administration is openly defying many of the 162 court rulings that have paused his illegal executive orders. They won't talk about how the president has called for the impeachment of judges who rule against him, or how they're allowing ICE agents to raid churches and elementary schools. They won't talk about how they're allowing Trump to purge the Department of Justice of employees who helped investigate the January 6th insurrectionists. They won't talk about how this administration is preparing to give $5 million to the family of Ashley Babbitt, who participated in said insurrection, because they don't actually care about law and order and the rule of law. They're here today for one reason: to forfeit their constitutional oversight responsibilities. But since I decided to bring up January 6th, let me run a tape to remind y'all of the difference of congressional oversight versus criminals.
We're here conducting an oversight visit, which we have the power to do as congressional members. Statutory authority, and so that is what we're here for, and we're waiting to speak to a supervisor to let us in here because stand up for our mayor. We will be your eyes and your ears, and we will report to you, Mayor.
It's interesting that one set of behavior somehow is going to get a family rich overnight. And the other folk that were there in that video, the members of Congress, well, they're saying arrest them. Let me remind you that those January 6ers have been pardoned. Let me remind you that yet another January 6er was just arrested a few days ago for committing what? Another crime. So if we're gonna talk about us keeping our streets safe, let's be real about who's causing crimes, who actually went through what we call due process, because no one denied the January 6th insurrectionists of their due process. They went to court, they either pled guilty or were found guilty, and they were sent to prison, and half of them, actually all of them, if their sentences said so, should still be in prison. Because we as Americans would be safer. We won't get into the fact that another one was already in trouble because they had already killed somebody. But I'll continue on. Right now, our Republican colleagues want to forfeit their constitutional oversight responsibilities. Let's talk about what's actually happening. In March, we learned that the Trump administration was dismantling the Department of Homeland Security's Office of Civil Rights and Civil Liberties and terminating staff at the Office of the Citizenship and Immigration Services Ombudsman. And in the Office of Immigration Detention Ombudsman, because they argue, quote, these offices have obstructed immigration enforcement and, quote, undermined DHS's mission. The Office of Civil Rights and Civil Liberties investigates public complaints about possible violations of civil rights and civil liberties in DHS activities, including immigration enforcement and discrimination. And in the Immigration Detention Ombudsman's it is their primary responsibility to conduct oversight on conditions at immigration detention centers. So why would the Trump administration want to dismantle offices tasked with conducting oversight of immigration enforcement and detention facilities? The simple answer is, without them, there will be no internal oversight offices to assess the legality of the Trump administration's policies on immigration enforcement. So what have the results been? Since Trump took office on January 20th, 9 detainees have died in ICE custody. In fact, in Trump's first month in office, more detainees died in ICE custody than at any time since fiscal year 2020. Congressional Democrats have engaged in oversight activities of immigration facilities across the country, from Florida, where a 44-year-old Haitian woman died in ICE custody, to Newark, New Jersey, where 3 of our Democratic colleagues visited an immigration detention facility to ensure the humane treatment of detainees. This wasn't about going in and breaking nobody out, y'all, especially when there were cameras rolling everywhere. That's not what they were there to do. Now, in a breathtaking act of executive obstruction of congressional oversight and the unprecedented weaponization of the Department of Justice, we have an interim U.S. attorney for New Jersey who for years has argued in court that Donald Trump is above the law. She has announced criminal charges against Congresswoman McIver for, quote, impeding and interfering with law enforcement. However, our power as members of Congress to conduct oversight is found in the Constitution and federal law. In fact, federal law explicitly prohibits DHS from, quote, preventing a member of Congress from entering for the purpose of conducting oversight any facility operated by or for the Department of Homeland Security used to detain or otherwise house aliens, or to make any temporary modification at any such facility that in any way alters what is observed by a visiting member of Congress. It is against the law. Full stop. Separately, the court has consistently held that the speech and debate clause of the Constitution protects individual members from prosecution for legislative acts, including, quote, fact-finding, field investigations, and information gathering. The court has consistently held that the primary purpose of the speech and debate clause is to, quote, prevent intimidation by the executive and before a possibly hostile judiciary. So let's call this for what it is. This administration is criminalizing legislative oversight, and the Republicans on this committee are helping them to do so. Rep. McIver didn't engage in interference. It was ICE that engaged in interference while members of Congress attempted to conduct legitimate oversight of ICE facilities. Everyone, whether you are American or not, should be deeply disturbed and worried about Trump's abuse of power. They're attacking universities for teaching things they don't like. They're attacking law firms for representing clients that they don't like. This hearing and these charges are an attempt at political intimidation. The 3 members in Newark were exercising their constitutional duties to check an out-of-control executive branch. This entire situation happened because of the unjust arrest of Mayor Baraka. And not only were the members invited in and given a tour of the facility, this was after they so-called had broken the law. Now, I don't know about y'all, but where I'm from in Texas, I can tell you that I'm not used to having law enforcement see a crime happen right in front of their faces and then say, never mind, we'll just go about our business. In fact, why don't you go ahead and come on in? Come on in, we gonna do this tour because, oops, we did make a mistake because technically by law, we are supposed to allow you in. And wait a minute, while you're here, do y'all want something to drink? We got refreshments for you as well. And then after you conduct this oversight, and you actually gave a clean bill of health because you were never there to disrupt, you were always there to do your duty. They came out and they said, everything looks good. And then it wasn't at that moment that they decided to arrest members. It wasn't the next day. In fact, even as I sit here today, no member has been arrested. Now you tell me how many times you can see the robber go in the bank, steal the money, and then they say, well, never mind, we'll think about this later. That is what you call politicizing. And that is what we are here to talk about is wrong. We got a few other issues with ICE right now, so I'm gonna get to them in a second. The DOJ, as I said already, has already dropped the charges against the mayor. Look, they're coming after everyone who uses their constitutional rights and duties to speak truth to power. The press, the courts, and now members of Congress. And to be perfectly honest, I had my team do the research. Under no other president, Democrat or Republican, can we find an incident where they have tried to arrest members of Congress. This is absolutely absurd that they were out there simply doing their duty. We have never seen ICE act in this way. In fact, it's not less oversight that we need right now, it's more. In fact, I'm gonna tell you, actually, I'm not gonna tell you. I can show you better than I can tell you. Roll the tape.
Shocking video showing the moment ICE agents smashed a car window and forcibly removed a man in New Bedford. 29-year-old Juan Francisco Mendez has no criminal record and was... Stop!
Definitely a chaotic scene on Eureka Street Thursday as Worcester police and ICE agents detained a mother and her 16-year-old daughter. That girl's face slammed into the ground as she was taken into custody. They have not been identified. Worcester police said officers were dispatched to the area for a report of a federal agent surrounded by about 24 people. When police arrived, they say the teen daughter was...
Agents smashed his window and dragged him out while his small children cried in the back seat and his partner recorded the incident.
You can't tell me that somebody in this building shouldn't do their jobs because these people are out of control. You're talking about arresting members of Congress? These masked agents are running around acting this way? This is not okay. This shouldn't be about politics. We all should be on the same side saying we will not stand for this type of activity, but instead, they want to pretend like it's members of Congress that are the thugs. It's members of Congress that are the ones that are stoking this kind of violence. Let me tell you what those members of Congress were doing. They were trying to make sure that there would not be another mother that would lose her life in ICE custody as it was Mother's Day weekend. They decided that they just wanted to make sure that people were safe because that is who we are supposed to be in this country. And honestly, for anybody that considers themselves to be a Christian, they should care about treating people in a humane way. And they should also care about due process. Everyone in this country under our Constitution is due process. With that, I will yield.
Whew. Let that sit for a moment. What you just heard from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett wasn't just a defense. It was a dismantling of the gaslighting, of the double standards, of the political theater that's trying to turn justice on its head in 2025. She laid it bare. The problem isn't that Baraka broke the law. The problem is that the law, as it's being weaponized right now, isn't serving the people. Let's talk facts. Baraka, the mayor of Newark, gets charged with trespassing at a facility in his own city. As city activists say, is operating without proper inspection and violating local code. And when he shows up peacefully to do his job, to protect his people, federal agents move in like it's a sting on a cartel boss. And then LaMonica McIver, an elected U.S. Congresswoman, tries to intervene and gets slapped with felony assault charges. Meanwhile, the folks who stormed the Capitol on January 6th are not only walking free, some of them are getting rewarded. Their families getting checks. Pardons being handed out like candy. So let's be clear. This isn't just about Newark. This is about power and who gets to exercise it and who gets punished for standing up to it. And Jasmine Crockett, she's not playing cute politics. She's drawing a line in the sand, reminding us that history is repeating itself, but louder this time. That what we're witnessing is not law and order. It's law as a weapon, order as control. Because when ICE raids churches and schools, when DOJ targets mayors and congresswomen instead of insurrectionists, when they criminalize protest but canonize treason, then we're not just in a legal crisis. We're in a moral one. And in moments like this, silence, it's complicity. So shout out to Jasmine Crockett for using her mic the way it's meant to be used. Not for political spin, but for truth. And for reminding us that oversight isn't a privilege, it's a duty. And the people we send to Washington, they better be ready to use it. So now I turn it over to you, my people. When the lines between justice and politics get this blurry, when the people elected to protect us are the ones being punished for doing exactly that, what kind of democracy are we really living in? And more importantly, if standing up gets you locked up, what are we willing to risk to do what's right? Let me know in the comments. That's it for today's show. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Sandra, Babu-Boateng. Until next time, take care. Hey you! Thanks so much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, don't forget to subscribe and join the family. Also, visit face2faceafrica.com for your daily news and updates on what's going on within the global Black community so you can stay informed.